Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight, Father. We pray that you watch over us, Father, as we do the county's business and help us do and make the right decisions. God, watch over us, keep us safe. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated, please. I show 6:04 p.m. It's Tuesday, April the 18th, 2023, regular meeting of the Elliott County Fiscal Court. Currently, I show present Chris Dickerson, Darren Newell, Charles Witt, Brian Dillon, Michael Dickerson, and Dewey Smith. We'll start out with comments from citizens and special guests, and we had two just walk in. Guys, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you. We were just getting ready to roll. But these guys are from the Kentucky Department of Transportation. They're here to give us some information about, and I'm assuming the 2023, 2024 dollars coming down from Frankfort to Flemingsburg to us. So Shane, Kyle, you fellas take the floor.
Hey, thank you, sir. Shane Randy, on most of you either yelling at the basketball floor or being here at the fiscal court meeting, or sometimes both in the same night. You know, about Linda Kyle Bidwell, who's a section engineer more now, and y'all know David Leach. He's our branch manager, been here forever. We'll start off with just a few project updates for you. Kentucky 7 here going out of town. We're going to call it going to Morgan County. Our design team has told us it's stalled with right-of-way issues. Let's see if Kim answers any more questions on that. Kentucky 7 going out toward the other way. They're working on final design. Okay, the end going from Moorhead, you know that one, right into 32. It comes back in out here into 7. They said design is completed, but right-of-way is not purchased yet.
Are you talking about 32 to Cold Springs Road from 7?
Right.
All right. So let me just clarify. You went from Route 7 here at the school toward Wrigley to 32
Right.
from 7 toward
Right.
Cold Springs.
And then 32 headed out of town toward Osceola. They said the right-of-way funding has been authorized. So
Okay.
that's the update on that. I think at the last planning committee meeting or whatever they had, the gateway ad thing, the emergency management guy asked about some guardrail. We had a hiccup in guardrail contractors, a lot of stuff going on there, but we do have everything picked up on sheets to be fixed, and he should be in here within 2 or 3 weeks to start. I hope when he comes, he goes countywide.
Excellent.
So we had some techs come in before we actually got busy in construction and picked up all those things.
So you're hoping that begins when?
Within the month, we're kind of at his liberty because he's got 2 or 3 districts. There's obviously anything on the interstate takes priority sometimes. And he also does construction projects, so he'll have to skip around, you know, as that goes. So, that. Three. Sorry.
Right.
Anybody else need one? John?
Yeah. I'm going to have one to go.
I had one to read off of. Okay. Sorry, I didn't know y'all had a people.
Thanks.
No, we still got 7. So you need one, you take
No,
one.
I'm good. All right, I can give somebody this one when I get done. So,
We may have Emily's package, she's not here.
that's fine. I'll leave it when I get done, just remind me.
All right.
So, start off, these are still tentative, okay, just like we have been the last couple of years. $878,265 is the total allotment for the county. Judge, between us last year, we were 59,000 over, so that's deducted out of that. And that leaves 818,331. The maintenance and traffic part for the state is 395,200. Should also get your 3875 for administering the program. That leaves us with 419,255, of which 175,653 of that will be euros, and leaves me 243,602. And both of those numbers are down from last year. Of course, last year we had 486 starting at the Carter Gang line and coming in. That has been let to contract to be paid. And we'll just pick up wherever they leave off and keep right on coming. We hope that gets us to about the junction of the Hurricane Creek Culvert. That'll be another, about 2.5 miles.
Yeah. So you're at the 9.6. 486 is about 14 miles from the Iceville Fire Department to the Carter County line. And this is for folks who may not know, the money is already in the bank to come from the Carter County line on 486 back to almost the Big Four store. From what they're telling me, the 9.656 mile marker is somewhere between the Big Four store and what we know is Backbone. So from what Shane's saying is they're going to pick up from right there between Backbone and the Big Four store and run her all the way back to around Hurricane Creek, which is another 2.5 miles, which gets us about halfway to Iceville Fire Department.
That's the long one for me. It takes me the longest to pay that.
It's a 14 mile. It's one of the longer state roads, which you've got 504, you've got Stark Ridge, 7 and 32 are obviously the major connectors in the county. 504 probably being the arguable third, and then you run into the 706, 486 corridor over in that end of the county.
Of course, we did all the work in the patches on 409. I know it wasn't a complete pave, but the hill was just back with the paving and all
Yeah.
the patches.
Is that in the conversation to pick back up?
As far as
409.
see, we got all that, if you remember, off that flood money. That's how we got all that. So you can't really pave, you have to just patch your work areas. But I mean, it'll come back at some point in time. If we got lucky or unlucky, however you want to
Yeah.
do it, the part that failed that we got the money for is really the part that needed to work. So,
Well, that was before I was in office. But
Right.
yeah, you're right. They were the money, I guess you're talking about the crib and rail that was done.
the crib and rail.
That was the worst part.
Right. And then when you do an estimate, I always figure about to fix it back.
Yeah,
Because if it didn't fail with the flood, you tear it up, cribbing it,
yeah.
and railing it, drilling it, you know. So I always try to figure that in when we meet with FEMA, try to get that money back.
What was it they supposed to finish, 1555 last year?
That was mixed up, they went the wrong end, so, and we've got another way to do that. That's why we did.
I just come across two of them, that's why I asked. I'm a tractor.
Trust me, Donnie reminds me every day.
Yeah, he lives on 15.
Yeah.
What do you let you get away by asking?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just like anybody else. The roads, I start thinking of roads that come to mind. And 863 Blaine Straits Road comes to mind, which we grader patched it. Donnie and the guys grader patched it. That was a big help. But that first mile there, and when I asked Stephen about that, Gunnell, there was some other things come into play there. And I understand that there's some money being asked for in other places that are above my pay grade. And I said, well, if that's where it's at, then I'll just shut up. But I still would like to see 863. Well, I'd like to see them all, but when you think about 863 is 1 mile. It's in pretty rough condition. It was grader patched, which was an immense help to a bleeding ulcer. But when you start looking at other roads, Bear Flat, there was talk at one time you guys were going to go out Bear Flat and take care of Bear Flat. At some point, 706, they've done a lot of coal mining on the lower 706 or 706 North, and then upper 706 or 706 South is going to need some love at some point. Just about, and did you all, I've not been down 1622. Have you all done some work down 1622?
We did some rail work down there, and they asked for some strip patching estimates the other day, and I put a bunch of money in there. If we
Okay.
get back from Frankfurt, that's one place we'll go.
Okay. I know a year and a half ago you did some rail
We
work
did some
and you
rail
did do
work,
some
and
patching.
more.
Looked really good, but again, it's just one of those where it wasn't as much as we'd like, but we love what we received.
Right. And you know yourself, you all do 10, 12, 14 foot wide roads.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do 20s. So, you know, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. No, I get it. I don't know what your cost is, but at $114.50 for a half a backhoe bucket full, which is $114.50 to $118.20 a ton, which is variable on the market, and that's where it comes to. I don't know what the state. It doesn't matter what the state pays. Elliott County is paying $114.50 to $118.20 depending on market, the way the market's rolling that day. Whenever we get that price, I'm the one sitting there in the truck like you guys do, and I've got two calculators, one doing the math, the other one doing the equation of how much I can squeeze that rock and get as much blacktop out of it as I can. So I understand what you're going through on a different level as what we go through here in the counties. You have counties, I have precincts, but we're all stretched. I get it.
We did ranking this morning. You know, Judge Clark's comment was he's only got 4 migrants. Was y'all take 270-some-thousand divided by 4, divided by $115 a ton, it don't go very.
No.
You know, and that's the reason you see patches and not pavement. You know, because it just don't go very far when you sit down and pave.
No, if you think one backhoe bucket fulls about 2 ton, a good sized backhoe bucket, whether depending on it, 1.5 tons or 2 tons, so you've got $230 worth of asphalt in one backhoe bucket. And folks say, well, you're going to pave my road, or you're going to pave my gravel and make my gravel road a road. Well, if you pave gravel, you're almost shooting yourself in the foot if you don't do 4 inches on your first lay. You need 4 inches of binder, and that's not with us. We don't do surface, which all you do. Surface is the most expensive, so that's something else that has to be thrown into there. And then that's why you see patching being more prevalent, even though it's not popular. I've watched you all enough to know in the last 4 years to figure out, number one, how can I win at this game or lose the least? So, and I'm sure you guys do the same.
You know, how can I serve the most with what I got?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we play that game all. I mean, you play it with salt, and salt's just as high as blacktop.
Yeah, we paid, it was as much or more than blacktop this past winter, and we bought it from you. That was approved, that we were able to buy it from you guys. So,
You
yeah.
said they were coming to fix these places on the guardrail.
Yes. Yeah, I've got a stack laid on my desk about a week and a half ago. It's probably 4 sheets in each one, but still they're that thick. So.
The spot up for 173 on the hill's kind of iffy, so I just hope they get that fixed.
Explain to me, you've got a 23-24 tentative allocation at 90% of 878,265, and you're showing a 22 to 23 undistributed amount of 59,934. What is that?
That was an overrun from last year.
Which means?
One of us went over, so it comes out. Just like if we would have went under, some years that's been 20, 30, 40,000 good.
Yeah.
We never lose. If for some reason it comes under, then we get it next year. But if we go over, instead of there, a lot of times there's a percentage in there. That's what that 10% is for. That's your contingency. So if stuff goes over, then, you know, we don't have to stop short or come up with it ourselves. They just catch it and then take it back.
So your the bottom line, 243,602 is for 486. That's extra 2.5 miles.
All right.
I want you all to think about that just for a minute. 2.5 miles of 22 feet of road. Is that fair to say on 486? I don't think it's a 24-foot road.
No, it's two 10.5s in the foot chart.
Okay. 2.5 miles, $243,602 for 2.5 miles. That just blows me away.
$97,440.
I always tell everybody, if you're wanting blacktop done right, it's $100,000 a mile.
$100,000.
Of course, remember for us, we've got bridges in there.
Yeah.
So we mill those bridge ends to get them as good as we can.
And if
You know, we don't just pull up to them and leave a hump, even though there's always a hump there at some point in time, but we mill those down 100 feet. Take any culvert that's actually a culvert in there,
That's
we
where I
have to
was
take an inch off, put an inch back. We can't put more weight on it. So all that factors into that.
folks need to recognize that, because when they come to you, they come to us and they say, I need a mile of blacktop. That's about 2 inches. So that's not even figuring up a new road plan of about 4 inches, which in your all's case, it's more than 4, but in our case, it would, all we could even think about would be.
Yeah, that'd be $200,000 a mile.
Yeah, to put the 4 inches of binder down. I've tried to study this, and I've tried to make sure that this stretches just absolutely as far as I can get it. And
I've got a 4.5 mile section right now around County, and we'll that's gonna be right at, just a little shy of $2 million.
Yeah.
That's cement stabilization, fixing some spots, and a full repaint.
So you're doing some soil nailing? Is
So
that?
we're doing T-rail.
T-rail, okay.
Rocks are about 10 feet.
Okay.
Perfect, real place for it.
Yeah.
I know, they're fixing to find one right there, over Elliott.
The Round County part of 504. So, you know, when you get to church down there, we we presented at the fiscal court this morning that we would pay bid either this fall or next spring. It's part of their fund. So it will be, which really affects you all, because people that go that way get more than you.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 different places on 32 going out toward Cold Springs Road to Newfoundland where the hill's slipping and the road breaking and stuff. Will they do any more work on that at all before the road comes through or not?
If we have to,
If it falls off.
well, we don't want to get to that point. We don't want it to be gone.
There's one
Yeah.
place there that's just about ready to fall.
I think that's the place where the transformer blew on us the night of the ice storm, and I said, I'm going back.
Well, we had the spot, right above Simmons Loop that actually did sit down and you all had to you soil nailed it.
So, now
And it's held. Above it looks pretty rough, now, which was not part of the soil nail job. I'm afraid that you guys may have to come back and revisit that at some point. But there are several other spots out 32.
And you know, that's another game you get to play in your Russian roulette with your money.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a new road coming, how far out is it, what do I do here? Does this remain a road, is it abandoned, you know?
How much they gonna tear out of this when you start moving in?
How much gonna tear up when the elbow, you know?
Well, here's my guidance there. Give it a lick and a promise. If you're going to destroy the property the road sits on. If you're going to hand it to the county and make us have to pay for it the rest of the time, I want it fixed in its entirety with a big red bowl.
You want to start the new interstate.
I want it to look just like a new I-64.
I will pass that along and he's going, let him know.
Well, I can text him right now, but I think you'll get the message to him. But I've noticed that judge executives need to really step in if they can. Sometimes we can assert ourselves, sometimes we need to stand down and say, if a road is going to be handed to the county, we need to push as much as we can to have that road in the best possible condition before it's handed to the county, because then it becomes on this list of flex money and overall road money that'll be handed down to us from Frankfurt, which it just adds another problem. Because we've already every year, we've got problems we fix, problems we put Band-Aids on, and problems that just pop up. And I wouldn't want anything like that to be a problem that just pop
Well,
up.
don't we have to prove if it's in good enough shape for us to take it?
You
don't really have the option. They ask you, but you don't really have that option.
You're just.
Oh, I've been there a time.
It's a lot like whenever my kids give me their opinion. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're doing it my way.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the counties will say, this is what we want to do, and the state says, we appreciate that. That's not how it's going to work. That's just how it is.
So you add miles onto the county road system and go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's,
But as you quoted earlier, that's above our pay.
yeah, yeah.
The Carter County section 504, I'm asking about that, what happened to the county road here lately? Because where they put those tiles in, they put big dips in it. It looked like we need to come back and lift their calf, but I don't know who put those in.
I know, a guy.
You know,
They talk about 706, I'll relay that to you.
They was a lady asked me about who was gonna pay for her new vehicle the other day, and I said, you need to call the Carter County Road Department.
That's good, because you talk to the Carter County Road Department, you did great.
I know who you just, yeah, he does live off of City. He's actually on County Road.
I know a guy, I'll relay that information to you.
Hey, I want to
I've
say,
been asked several questions about that.
I want to say this, whoever pulled the trigger on Route 7 at the Carter County line toward Rattlesnake Ridge, thank you. I don't know if you've been down through there, but they took that long arm brush hog.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
Every day.
Yeah.
We need that in Elliott County. How you borrow that to them?
Oh, that's Darby Raper, I'm sure if you pay him, he'll never get
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, you could still see down to the water, all the way down through there. And now you can't, obviously, but now you can a little bit. And I just think that was absolutely great that thing rolled
it.
through.
You would be surprised, the phone calls and the mixed opinions
Love it.
that you get when you do that.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll range
I
from
wouldn't be
everything
surprised.
that you said, all the way to the other end of the spectrum. You know?
We get it
Yeah.
too. We get it too. Any other questions for the gentleman here?
Right. Well, yeah, it got late on us and it got cold, as you know, when it gets cold, it's hard to do. They fall in a different program, the MP program. We have a meeting every year and they're ranked by a band that comes in and rides and they put all these magical numbers on it. And we can move a little bit, but they just kind of fall where they fall. So we just patch as we can and, you know, I think that meeting is in a month or so. Or is it exactly when it's fall? I think fall. Yeah, they're riding right now. So there's also a game with that if you patch too early.
Yeah.
And then they come right in. You want to kind of.
Which road are you on, Michael?
556.
556, 557 up there with it.
Yeah.
Is there any chance of getting any, guardrails out 3353, a couple spots?
Where at?
Do you have exact spots?
Basically that hill, as you start up the hill, when you go up past the water plant, there are several spots there. I've seen vehicles.
Oh, water plant.
there on both sides.
You talking about Horton Flat?
Yeah.
Past where we did the pipe, correct, fell in?
Yeah.
No, we're talking
Yeah,
about-
just past it, be on the left, before you get to the Carter County line.
So how guardrail works is, we go look at it, we've got a maintenance liaison that comes out, and actually, does this. He goes and looks at it, we fill out a form, he goes through the system, and then it ranks against everything in the whole. And once it's there, it's there, and when it pulls.
If we could get
Yeah,
somewhere.
but at least we'll get it on the system, that's all we.
There, and, I think there's a couple spots maybe out on, I was thinking out maybe, Plains Trace, wouldn't they a spot or two over there? Needed
What?
some guardrail.
On 863? No, I can't think of any on. We were
I
there,
seen another
we
spot
were
the
there
other day, I
several
was
times last
thinking.
week.
Easiest way probably to do that, Judge, if you want to, just let them give you a couple spots, please, that they know they're bad, email them to me.
All right, I
And
can do that.
if y'all have to go by mile point, if you can just get an address, if there's a house there, get the house
But
address.
this is all Army Corps on both sides.
But I'm just saying though, if you get closer, give me some
Yeah.
kind of a landmark or something, and, you know, then we'll go from there.
Well, let's take it.
Yes, sir. As always, we'll need a resolution, all that, email it to me, email it to Dave's office, however you want to do it, just have it done in the past.
Yes, sir.
Shane, thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
all.
Al.
Thank you, Al.
I'll give you that last copy.
You guys can talk too if you've got more money.
Spend it all.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See y'all.
Hey,
See you.
that's flexible.
It'll come through.
No, that 847 thousand, get this.
Oh, you got it.
The state's gonna spend that.
You have it.
It's just the same every year, you just put the recommendation on the resolution.
So is that one motion?
They can probably do it together to accept and approve the resolution.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna ask you all for a motion to approve their recommendations and the resolution. Cheyenne already has the resolutions, you do not, but basically it's a plug and play resolution. You take last year's resolution, you plug in this year's numbers that they have, and it becomes the resolution from the county for myself to sign, and it goes back to Flemingsburg. for them
Motion to approve. Second.
The motion by Chris was second by Dewey. Is there any further discussion? With that said, all in favor signify by saying aye, please. Any opposed? We're going to work hard to get as much as we can. We've been very successful in getting extra blacktop money. But I'll tell you, some things have changed in Frankfurt, and it's no fault of yours, definitely no fault of mine. And they've taken some dollars that was discretionary aid, and they've put it back into the legislature, so it has to be legislated. Here's my promise to you. They're gonna come back into their biennium budget this fall, this winter. I'm gonna be right in the middle of that. I'm gonna be asking for more money for Elliott County. So however the rules are put forth to us, it's my job and your job to go get all that we can. So if we can get some extra for a project here or a project there, I wanna be there. And I love going down there and mixing it up a little bit with them anyway. Just, you learn, I've never went down there and not learned something. And I really enjoy that when they're in session. I don't like the politics side of it. I love getting to meet and see how the process works. And I love being able to get in front of folks who actually, and there are representatives and senators and legislator employees down there who want to help you the second you walk in the door. And that makes you feel warm. And so, even though the rules have changed just a little bit, now that I've got to play by that set of rules, I'll be down there. When they come back in the fall, in the winter this year, I'll be there, and I'll be asking for money for our area. So I want to throw that out there to you guys and ladies, and let you know that. All right, we'll move forward. We also have with us Mr. Eric Patton with a discussion on redistricting.
I think I've met most of you guys, and I'll just give you a brief introduction while I'm passing these out. That way I'm not walking around and you just staring at me. My name is Eric Patton. I work for Fiscal. I've been there quite a few years now. And apparently I'm one of the very few people in this state that's actually been through a redistricting process. This is, it's not a fun process. It gets political really quickly. And you guys have not done, you guys haven't done redistricting in a couple of cycles, so it's about 20 years, obviously with these extra years. So what I want to do is kind of tell you what redistricting is, how we go about it, what I can and will not do to help you with it, and then talk a little bit about the state of your county and what's going to need to happen, okay? So redistricting happens every 10 years. Normally that will be the year right after the census, but because of COVID, they gave us a 1-year extension. So now it's going to begin in May of this year. It always begins in May. The job being to make the boundary lines or the district boundaries equal in population as much as possible. The Attorney General of Kentucky says that's plus or minus 5% of the mean average. So we'll talk about that when we get down to the state of the county a little bit. What we need to do from here is your responsibility in this is to appoint a board of 3 people from your county that will be voting members of a board chaired by your clerk, who will be a non-voting member of the board, who will advise and create a map that meets the requirements of reapportionment by state law and present that to you for your approval. You can choose to approve or not approve any plan that they present. So they have 60 days on the first iteration. And correct me, Tim, if I'm wrong on any of this, because I have been wrong multiple times today. So they have 60 days to present the first plan to you. So from May, the first plan would have to be presented by July. You can look over that. You can choose to approve it or not. If you do not approve it, I get a 30-day extension to come up with a plan that you will approve. If you do not approve that plan, I don't know what happens. I believe that you can choose to do it yourself. That has happened. That is legally messy. I would advise against it, but it is not up to me. What I can do to help you is not only provide you the state of your county, where you are, what the numbers look like. I can help you see what it looks like, or help your board see what it looks like when we know those numbers. If they say we need to move some from here to here, I can advise on how we can do that to make it work. I will not make any decision on what moves or what changes in your county, period. When I leave here, when I'm done with this process and walk out the door, I don't vote here and I don't care. It's not my business. So I do not want to make a decision for your county or how anything works here. They could choose to go to a commission system. That can be their recommendation. I'm not saying it's going to be. I don't want to roll with that. I don't want to make that decision because that's going to get really messy. They can say we're going to have an 8th district. It's gonna get really messy. So I don't wanna be involved in that. I just wanna help them come up with a plan that works for you. Does anybody have any questions on that before I go and kind of the county?
Population numbers, so they correct that's on this sheet.
So the bottom section of that sheet, this sheet was not made to calculate for 7 districts. And I noticed that the bottom section started with average. Ignore that little bottom 4 lines because that is not correct. But yes, other than that, those numbers are the correct numbers.
And the District 5 that shows the population is 1,896, that's including prisoners.
That is.
Is that correct?
That is.
Even though they're ineligible to vote, they still have to be counted in.
They are still population, which is what districts go on, or precincts go.
And Eric, just to reiterate,
That's
voter
absolutely.
registration has nothing to do with this process.
No.
Nothing.
What's that?
Voter registration has nothing
Right.
to do with this process. It is population only, and that only covers the census numbers. Am I right about that?
That is correct. So whoever is the magistrate from District 5 does represent the people in the prison.
Even though they're ineligible to vote.
Yeah, yes.
Wonder who the Albert Einstein is that come up with that law.
Let me tell you, it's a nightmare. It makes it a nightmare to do.
Yeah, that's horrible.
It's,
They're
it makes it
double
really
the size of
difficult.
prison right now.
Yeah, that's right, so
next,
it's gonna go even higher.
next time it's gonna be double.
Real quick, let me do this. I'll go through this. District 4 is in range. Whoever is the magistrate of District 4, you're good. Okay, well, good. So yours doesn't have to change. It doesn't mean we don't need to borrow a few from it to make somebody else bigger or whatever, but right now you're good. So the line here, census sum, that is what the census says your county population is as of 2020. So below that calculated sum, because census boundaries and population does not line up with your district boundaries, there's some weird math that I have to do. If you want me to explain it, I'm not going to do it up here. Call me. It's really complicated. It takes me forever and I get confused a lot. But I can explain how I come up with it. It's a proxy method. It has been through court 3 times. It is accurate enough to work for what we do. But it does create a 2.5% error countywide. So about 140 people countywide get missed somehow. That's not enough to make a difference total in redistricting. It's going to be fine. Anything less than about 5%, I'm pretty okay with. Get really iffy when we get close to that. The 2.5, I'm happy with. Below that, where it says average, now this is where my calculator failed. The actual average population, if all districts were equal, would be 1,053 people per district. The variation below that is how many plus or minus that average you can have, and 51 is correct on that. The minimum population will be 1,002 people per district. The maximum will be 1,104. Anybody need to repeat any of that?
1140 or 1104?
1,104.
The question I have with this is if we make these changes, or who's gonna have the people who live in these changed districts to change their precinct?
So,
Because we have people now that's never been changed in the past, so that's why I'm asking the
the
question.
notification will go to the clerk's office. She will have to notify them, and as far as when these changes take effect, it's a conversation we have, and I don't know. I don't know by intent, because I don't want that, I don't want to be that far in the process. I need to be done by then and out here, because I about got lynched in Carter County last time I did this.
So here's the question that I would
Yes, sir.
put forth, is concerning the prison. The prison sits in Chris's district. That prison house is roughly 750.
By census population, it is
I understand.
523 people.
I understand that, but that is, when you take his number, that only leaves him roughly 1,100. How could we possibly think about pulling that many people out to make it 1,000? He'd only have 300 other people.
So we'll have to use the census number for what the prison is. It doesn't matter what they say the population is. The
That's
census in 2020
my
said
whole point to
523
start
people.
with. It's gonna, if you include the prisoners in it, which by law you say you have to.
Here by law, what we can do, we can reject it.
You're going, well, but do we have the option of rejecting whatever is brought to us and keeping everything the way it is?
So you can do that, realizing there's no citizens in here. You put yourself at risk of a lawsuit and they can force you to do it.
Right.
I mean, you guys didn't last time. But legally, I'm not an attorney, you can do that. You have the right to do that. There's a repercussion to that right.
Well, I understand that the citizen can sue you, yeah.
But legally, it's what I'm presenting here. What you do with that, it really doesn't.
Legally, we can accept the recommendation, modify it, or leave it the way it is. Legally.
Yes.
So if we modify this, when would it take effect, like the next election cycle?
I believe that is correct. I
This
believe
is
it-
election year, so and next year's a presidential election.
24, I think.
I believe if any redistricting is done, it would not take effect until January 1 of a new term.
2024.
I don't think you could enforce that in the midst of someone's term.
Yeah, I think that there are two legal battles that would have to happen there before they can make it.
That'd be the next one, the next manager addresses those things, actually.
So I want to add one thing to this, okay? What I have told every other county, and I want to tell you this too, is if you choose to redistrict and you appoint your board, when you set those meetings up, I will come to every meeting that I am able to come to. And I will prepare the first plan, and I will do that through FIVCO free of charge. That is what my director agreed to. That will get us to July. In July, June 30th will be my last day at FIVCO as it stands right now. I will honor that commitment and be at every meeting in July to get you through that plan. I will do it on my dime and my time. I think you guys deserve to have that option if I'm presenting it to every other county. Just because your county is more complicated doesn't mean that I should limit the service in your county. And I want you to know that ahead of time.
Appreciate
We
it.
appreciate that very much.
I'll happy answer any more questions, guys, that you want.
What'd you say the official count was for prison? 500 more?
523. It's 527. I'm 99% certain on 3.
And you're saying that each district should have 1,100 plus?
It should have between 1,002 and 1,104.
1104.
There's a 102 person range, which is really small. Guys, having a county with a small population in 7 districts makes it really
That's what I want to
challenging.
say. This looks impossible to me to do that with the districts we have at the moment.
I've done it.
Well, you can't add to
But
these
it's-
districts.
Well, yeah, you can.
You can add any that are smaller. So
Well, I've got
one
a,
of the good things is District 5 borders 5 districts. So that gives you a little bit of leeway. Actually, it borders 6, but I don't think you can really do much over there on that round.
you can't, you've got 834 in District 2, 907 in District 1, and 811. That's pulling 500 people out of District 5.
Well, you're gonna have
There's
to pull
gonna
more
be-
than that out of District 5. You're gonna have to pull 700 out of District 5.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, you're gonna have it down to where there's nobody left in the prison.
It would be the prison plus 500
If you've
people.
got 1,100 people maximum and 523 of them's in the prison, and you've got 581 left, is all you got.
And I would offer you the advice, guys, to think forward to 10 years from now. Because when that prison does have a population.
It's gonna double.
Well,
What
It's
you
gonna
need,
be a district.
just make it its
Yeah.
own district, then I'm gonna vote anyway.
I don't know, you have to put one person here so they can vote to elect it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you that.
Yes, sir.
Ask those.
I like that.
Well, they don't need to be, they're already represented.
What representation do they need?
As to the places that you've already assisted in getting this done, how have they handled prison dilemmas?
I have not worked with anybody.
Basically, what they're gonna do, here's what they're wanting to force you to
The only place
downsize.
that has a president has commissioner districts, which is Ashland.
The
And
only way
that
you're
prison
gonna do it is
population,
get all
always a
of
large
those
population, is
1,100
easy to
Yeah.
afford. Because they only have 3 districts and they have a large population. It's kind of an anomaly that you guys have such a large prison population. I mean, it's almost
But,
10%.
this thing, very well.
Guys, if anybody wants, I'll make sure I leave the business cards laying back there for you. You're welcome to call me with any questions on this, any comments, something that occurs to you. My email's on there, you can email me, you can text me over here.
So how do we do this as far as putting the committee together? Is that appointed by the judge or do we?
It's appointed by the fiscal court. so you guys can make recommendations, you would vote on it just as you would anything else to approve, board, and you can do that singly or as an entire board. You can say, I want this guy on there and vote just like him, or you can put the full board together.
So do we ask them first or just force them to be on it?
Well, you probably want to ask him, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. The only people that can't be on the board are you guys, and Bert, him, and everybody outside the county, so that's good, it's me.
It has to be 3 people from 3 different districts.
Yes, and it cannot be appointed until May 1st.
The board is only allowed to have 3 people?
It's really quite set to play against people with a large number of districts. It's really set more for a lot of commissions that have 3, so you get 1 from each commission district. But guys, I'll help you any way I can help you. I'll answer any questions you've got, anything that I can do. If you want, I'll hang around for a few minutes and see if
From what I see, we're gonna need your help. They're gonna have to ask some
I'm sure we're gonna have a
We'll
little
have
patient as it goes.
to have armed guards come in with you. Like
And if you guys want to have a special meeting, and put me on the agenda, this is all up to you guys. If you want to have a special meeting between now and May 1st, well, that's really close, but soon, just have Myron get a hold of me, he's got my
That's
phone
only-
number, and,
2 weeks?
yeah, I'll come down and answer any questions again. However you guys want to do that, if there's a way that I could make this process easier on you, that's my hope.
Myron, what do you think? We're gonna have to do something like that, because you know we're gonna have a bunch of questions. We've got to get this worked out. But we may have to call a special meeting.
That's
And
no, that's,
we're gonna have to bring some people in here, ask people who's gonna sit on that committee, and then I guess out of this bunch here, divided down to 3 people. And so how are we gonna pick 3 people out of 7 districts without some kind of conversation, without something? This ain't gonna happen if we don't make it happen.
I am happy to do whatever you tell me to do.
We don't know. That's the question. We don't know.
Well, if it's me, I put some feelers out there of some folks who are very open-minded, who want to see the county move forward, who understands service of county above themselves, and that are educated enough to understand this map whenever they see it, and to go by KRS whenever they read it, and to go by the guidelines that have been given in that PowerPoint that I sent to you and that you've seen, and that I think Michael also sent it out. They need to be able to digest that, and they need to be able to sit down among themselves and with Jennifer and have multiple solid conversations.
Should we then have a special meeting next week? Let's get some names together,
Why don't we
invite those people to come in here
Why
and
don't we-
listen to this meeting.
Why don't each one of us ask one out of our own precinct?
I mean,
That'd
I
give you,
think we
that'd give you
can,
7 names to choose from.
but they need to be here at this meeting and hear this to see if they're gonna volunteer to do this.
But if we have to pay them, it won't be volunteer.
It is typically a paid position.
I mean, but it's still, they need to volunteer to do it.
Yes.
What are they typically paid to do this job?
What is it?
How much are they typically paid to do this?
Do you know?
A reasonable,
Reasonable, what we said to.
Okay. I mean, that's what I'm asking.
it says reasonable.
Carter County.
KRS states it says reasonable.
Paid a pretty small amount, and I think it was like $15 a meeting, 10 years ago. Okay. And they paid by meeting.
So I mean, it's something that, it sounds like we got 2 weeks to get the ball rolling.
What is the deadline in May, Jennifer, that you have to have that board appointed by? I think, is it like the 20?
Is it,
It's after the
is it, we start to,
May 31st, isn't it? By the end of May, you need to have your board appointed.
Is it by the end of May?
I think it is.
You got 60 days from the end of May for them to come back with a decision. The fiscal court mulls it over, and they make a decision based on that decision. That recommendation then prompts them to make a decision.
So 2 weeks.
Stick with it, change it, or abort it all.
Is anybody allowed to attend their meetings?
It's a public meeting.
Their meetings are public?
But they probably, would they carry weight from somebody speaking at the meeting?
I'm gonna make a recommendation that if you are an elected official, you're probably better off to not.
No, I'm saying, if it's an open meeting, these 2 people,
I
plus
mean-
the clerk sitting there, you've got people saying, hey, I want you to do this, this, this.
That would be her to control, to
Okay.
make sure that doesn't happen. We had, Carter County's last was a circus. I had 2 reporters standing over my shoulder.
I remember
the entire
that.
meeting. Yeah, I was told not to go back to Carter County for 6 months and work. That is absolutely no joke. And then I walked out of the courthouse that day and I got stung by a wasp right in the forehead. Even the cops didn't like me.
We're trying not to make it that bad for you. Just make sure they know you're just giving advice.
There was a force in Carter County that wanted to see it fail, and they used me as that impetus. So.
Do we want to set a special meeting, this evening, get a date?
As far as my schedule, if you guys want me to be here, I am tied up on Monday and Friday. I can work with anything else next week.
Other Monday, Friday.
You wanna do it a week or 2 weeks out?
You probably need 2 weeks.
We do it 2 weeks out?
That's just me. I'll do whatever you tell me to do, but I would think,
The following week.
I don't want you to feel like we've got to rush into.
Okay, well, it sounded like there a minute ago, we was kinda in a hurry there.
So the following week, I am free any day as it stands right now. So if you guys want to let me know when that is, you don't have to do it right
10,
now.
11, 12, 9 of May.
And that week currently, if it's during the day or evening,
What day's election day on?
16.
You're out on that.
Brian, did you need anything else from me?
No, Eric, I'm good.
Leave some cards back there, guys, in case you have any questions, and I'll sit around for a little bit.
Well, I think we should go ahead and set one now for at least a couple weeks out, give us time to find some candidates.
Thank you, Eric.
Make sure he's here, that he can go through that, because it's gonna take him here, somebody with knowledge, because I have no way to explain anything like that to people. I don't know what it is. We don't know what it's gonna do.
It needs to be someone who has the time,
Yes.
who presents the intelligence, has the open mind and willingness to sit down and take a holistic look at this and know that they're servicing their entire county and they're providing a service to their entire county by taking on this.
Yes.
Those three individuals, whomever they are.
No, I think they should be invited to this meeting to make sure that they stand up and say they will do it. I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
Well, I fixed it sitting here.
Huh?
I fixed it sitting here, but we'll let it roll. I got within 90 people, but you're taking down districts, and I'm not having a part in that. So
Well, that's what I'm saying, it's gonna cause an issue here.
Yeah.
You know it is.
if you
See it plainly.
put Brian and Dewey together, and you put Emily and Darren together, and you put Charles and Michael together, and you leave Chris alone, you're within 90 people of being 5%
That's what I was
eradicated.
gonna say, you can tell it's gonna eliminate 2 at least, maybe 3.
But again, that's just me eyeballing this and then putting it down. That's all that is.
And we're gonna do one of two things. We're either gonna modify it, which state law says we do, or we leave it alone and take a chance on being somebody suing them. That's the two options.
And making you do it anyway.
Yes. That's
Potentially.
But yes, plus the cost of going through the court.
Johnny, would that go to circuit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
John lays it on you thick.
Now, does this have to be voted on by the
If it went to
county
circuit court,
at
it'd
any
take
time,
10
or
years.
is this already
It's
done
just
by the
those
fiscal?
three
We'll
board
be
members.
retired.
Those members make a committee, that committee makes a recommendation, the fiscal court makes a decision.
So the fiscal court
I
has
need
to
to
sit
have-
here and cut their own throats, basically.
Pretty much.
You swore to do that.
I know, I know, but I'm just saying.
And I don't-
Guys, it might not even be that big of an issue. Once we
True.
get it down and get it worked out, there's definitely some moves that we can make that I can see just easy peasy, that we could definitely do, that wouldn't probably make a whole lot of difference.
True.
And
One of the first things that I would
700
recommend doing, if you're gonna start.
700 gotta come out of my
Every
district here,
commissioner is for every magistrate.
That's
true.
Unless you take
So
that.
that's the trigger.
700's gotta come out pretty soon.
If you keep the same, you've got to lose. You've got
I'm
to
gonna lose
lose.
700, 1104 is the
If you
max.
keep the same.
1104 is the max.
Something to remember Eric didn't say was, some of the rules of the road are, however this committee goes about this, these boundaries have to be contiguous, which means if they change precincts, they have to be precincts that touch. You couldn't have Brian and Darren mixing a precinct.
Right.
That's not contiguous. It must be contiguous. Also, they say that there needs to be an interruption in the precincts, whether it be waterway, electric transmission line, a lake. There needs to be some kind of boundary, a major roadway. Route 7 could be considered, there needs to be a boundary between the precincts.
It has to be a visible boundary.
Yeah.
So we put basically me and Michael against each other. One and two and three, and the boundary line is Route 7.
Yeah.
And I've stepped back here, guys, I want to add one more thing, because I want, this is kind of important. At the end of
Yes.
this process, if I help you, I will provide the map for you of all your new boundaries. I will provide the digital map that has to go to LRC and the State Board of Elections. And I will provide new written descriptions for all of your precinct boundaries, or district boundaries. Right now, they're the same. They may stay the same, that's not my decision.
Would you do that for the committee, under the committee?
Yeah, I'll do that whenever you guys make your final decision. I will make sure you have all the documents, so you are new and have everything fresh and everything's ready to go.
Just want to reiterate one more time for those that will see this recording, that this is a law. This is not something that the Elliott County Fiscal Court decided that they would want to play with. By law, after every census, this is supposed to happen. And now it's after that census, and instead of it being the year after the census because of COVID, like you spoke earlier, we had another year reprieve, and now it's back upon us. So now we've got to grab this, and we've got to run with it.
And pretty much, in your opinion, this is gonna have to happen one way or the other.
Oh, I don't know. It's gonna happen sometime, guys. If it's not you, it's gonna be the
How
next
many years
one.
have we had 7 precincts? How far
Eventually,
back does that go?
somebody's gonna force you to do this.
You've never had fiscal court in our lifetime
It's
to
just
see
gonna
it.
fall back.
Look at it,
Uh,
not much.
There's a lot of firsts with this fiscal.
We understand.
But
Here's the knowledge
for
of
my
what's going in here
lifetime,
with the
this has never been looked at. It's been 7 precincts as long as I've been.
Make us do it.
Yes.
So they, and if this law goes back, they've chosen to leave it this way for a long time.
They
Just
can
do
do
it
it.
because they can.
And we could do that.
Okay.
Right, but we can also be sued over who enforced it.
And that could have happened before.
That's right.
That, you know, I just don't see somebody doing it, is my thing. It ain't broke, don't
I had
fix
2 counties go to court last year. Carter County went to court last year. People care, and a lot of the time, it's somebody who is, and I don't know any of your political parties, and I don't want to know any of your political parties, it's none of my business. The majority of you are one party, it's usually somebody from the other party that wants to interfere, that will sue you.
It's Kirk County, so it.
Yes. And nearly went to court 3rd time with the way it was set.
And it was redistricted.
Yes, it is. So it's always.
So did they drop any districts, or did they,
No, we did find a plan for them.
and how many do they have?
Yeah, 5.
They have 5.
So they kept their seats, they just removed.
You had people in certain cases on creeks that were not happy in certain areas because they wanted to keep that. They wanted the prestige of being in that precinct. They did not want to be removed from that precinct because daddy was in it, grandpa was in it, great grandpa was in it, and I'll be blankety blank if I'm not going to be in it too. You also had people that voted for said magistrate, did not want to leave that magistrate's precinct.
Yes, absolutely.
And they, because of one reason, that's an obvious, that you voted for Brian Dillon, you want to keep Brian Dillon, you don't want to be out of Brian's free. I get it, I understand it. And the way the politics rolls in is if on paper only, so it becomes a hypothetical, Chris Dickerson has almost 1,900 people, bodies in his precinct, all right? Dewey has 764. Which magistrate carries the most weight? Hypothetically speaking only, because we know they don't vote. But they're still, by census, their bodies in Chris's precinct. So they have to be taken seriously. So that's where the politics comes into it. So you see what I'm saying? You've got potentially a magistrate or commissioner that says, well, I bolster 1,000 more people than you. I need more money in my precinct than you. Even though in this case, it's an anomaly because that large population is in one 50-acre piece plot of land, and they carry no weight in Elliott County whatsoever, other than they're a burden on the taxpayer and they're a ward to the state. And I didn't mean to sound cruel there, but that's
It's fact.
that's
It's fact.
it's true. So
Well, let's get somebody to make a call.
it's going to be involved. And again, I say it needs to be 3 individuals in the county who are ready to tackle that, who can substantively grasp it, sit down and have those meetings where they might be a little uncomfortable and still walk away friendly. I think it needs to be a mixed bag. I think where there's 3 of them, in my opinion, and I'm sure you all will agree, there needs to be at least 1 female that sits in that, on that committee of 3. You have a female clerk who will oversee the operation. I think that's more than fair. But we need to come up with those 3 individuals, and you all need to give it your blessing as a core. And that's where we go, right?
So, do you want to set a time for us to do this? When we know about this up front, so he can.
Well, how do you all feel about going to 1 person in your precinct and saying, hey, would you like to potentially throw your hat in the ring? And then let the magistrates have 7 to choose from.
Let's do that.
I think that'd just be the easiest and the fairest. Not that it matters. Again, I don't want to see this become political. Me and Chris are at different parties, but we still serve the same God. And that's just the way I look at it. If somebody don't like it, then me and Chris don't care.
That's right. I don't want to see that either, but at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is politics and stinks.
But we don't have to let it be that way. That's God's honest truth.
No, we don't have to.
Chris said keep it up, or you'll be voting for yourself.
Well, no, I'll go from the top of the cliff on 504 out to the prison, cut off right there. I'll have about 7 or 8.
That was
How many are on?
5 of you decide to run, boy, you really got a problem then.
Chris?
I'm going down the Burt White Bridge.
3 votes for me.
Clyde Dickerson Road just became a precinct. Oh, the knife maker across the road will have a ball with that.
We just changed Chris' precinct to the green precinct. You have green.
Well, I think we should all have an opportunity to ask someone in our precinct to try to find
All right,
someone.
when would be
whether
a
they
good
choose
time
do
to
it.
reconvene with those 7?
I would say 2 weeks.
So the 2nd of May? Is that in anyone's way? I didn't mean to rhyme.
Because we need to get this set up as close to May the 1st as we can, don't we? So
That'd be
people
I
don't
think
take
so.
off.
I think it needs a good head start.
Yeah, well, and so we can get it over with. You can't get it over with till you start.
Right, because, I mean, our job's to get it going. He's gonna help the committee as they're going.
Well, I'm afraid we're gonna hit a few bumps in the
And we're
road.
gonna hit
I
some
think the
bumps.
earlier we get started, the better. Yeah, so.
May the 2nd, fine with me.
Are you okay with May the 2nd at 6 p.m. here?
I'm good with that.
Okay, May the 2nd at 6 p.m. It is. Eric, is that okay with you?
I have it on my schedule.
Okay, sir. Ladies, are you okay? One or both of you okay with May 2nd at 6 p.m.?
Will that be the only thing on the agenda on
Chris,
Sunday?
stay real late. Stay really late.
Brian?
That'll be the only thing we discuss that night.
You want to start?
It'll be a special meeting to discuss that and that alone.
That's fine.
That'll be the only thing on the agenda.
That'd be enough.
Well, here's what I'm wanting, here's what's going in my mind. What if I ask somebody and they accept, yeah, I'll be interested. Then you come here and there's like 3 more people out of your district show up or whatever, interested in that thing.
You're applying for a job,
Well,
a very
we're
unpopular
looking for
job.
representatives from our county, whether they choose to do it or not do it. that's
Because no
decided.
matter who you choose, there's a possibility there, and I don't know the over/under where they won't get chosen.
Right.
Do we put the 7 in a hat and draw them out?
That's up to you.
Then, do you want this or not? Here it is. You can either say yay or nay.
But whomever you ask, please make sure that they're up to this task.
You got a 42.8% chance of being chosen.
There you
That's
go.
about what I said, about 40%.
3 out, that's better than the lottery.
I didn't have an over/under on that. I'm glad you pulled that up. It's pretty quick.
Nope, we ain't allowed to be involved in it. No math from us.
All right, anything else on this topic? Eric, you're welcome to stay as long as you
Eric,
like.
thank you very much.
I want to you guys call me with any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Throw those maps away and I will bring it in.
It's the only way to do it. Nobody has, we're out of it. It's a draw off of it. We need one person willing to do
At least
it.
have
If they're drawn,
roadways in them. Easiest way for us to.
What I'll do is I'll bring a bunch of those down because they're easy to read, and I'll bring a giant map down.
Okay.
that has all the roads.
Okay, that helps us a lot.
Is this what you ever had?
And I have a way that I do that, but it makes it much different than that. I might try to do the same.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be good, something sample, give them an idea.
I do the same thing every year, and I usually send him that.
We're gonna need help.
And he's like,
We're gonna need help.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You guys, anything?
that's for everything else, that's just for like.
Okay.
This
All right.
saying that we're gonna.
Hold that thought. I'll come back to you in just a minute. Is everybody taking a breath? You need a breather there? That was a lot. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why your name is on the ballot. Good decisions. And I'll tell you, I heard this from the time I was a child growing up. Leaders are made on rough days. Leaders aren't made on days that are breezy and sunny and beautiful. This is why you took the job. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be popular, but it's why we ask to serve the people. And during the ice storm, I kept having to tell myself, oh, this sucks. This is why I was in this position, is to go help folks. And this is why we're in this position, is to help our county. So I think you've come at it excellent, in my opinion, if it matters. I think you all already have the right game plan in mind, and I think we'll go through this and we'll come out on the other end very well. And I think the people are already represented extremely well in this county. And I have no doubt in my mind, at the end of this, in 60, 90 days, whenever this all hashes out, that we'll be shaking hands at the end of it, and the folks will be, again, well represented no matter how it shakes out. So I thank you. I really appreciate it.
And it sounds like we don't really have a choice. Eventually, somebody will be forced to do it, whether we take it by the horns and do it, or.
There's some uncomfortable decisions to be made there, and there's some unfair bias, because you've got all 70 are really strong magistrates. You've got a really strong magistrate that has a weight on his shoulder that he can't control right now today.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really, seriously, I'm really amazed that it's went all these decades.
And the legislature hasn't moved it.
Yes,
When we was-
I mean,
When we were sitting here at the table, the last time this was brought up, David Blair looked around and he tried to tell you, folks, if we touch this, it's political suicide for all of us. He said, I don't want to touch it. And some of them made a motion to go on with it, and that's what happened.
I mean, it looks, we hear, if I'm not
he
mistaken,
ain't heard
Myra,
no more.
That's true too.
They ain't either.
there was comments made 4 years ago. It was around that this would have to be done eventually here. If I remember right, this conversation with someone, I don't remember now where that was at, but it was brought up, I remember.
You're not the only fiscal court that's going through this. There's 120 of them going through it right now.
Whole state.
Yeah.
And unless they've already dealt with it and they're in pretty good shape, they're all just like us sitting here.
But somebody down the road somewhere has to make some tough decisions.
Yeah. Whatever you decide, I know it'll be the right decision. I just feel it'll be the right decision. We're all here to serve, or we wouldn't have asked for the job.
You can't worry about how people's gonna vote and if they're gonna vote you back in or not. You gotta worry about doing what's best for the county. I mean, whatever the
Today.
consequences of it are, they are.
Today.
But that's what I was elected to do, is what's best for the county, not if I'm gonna get voted for again or not.
Yep.
It doesn't matter where you go, someone's not gonna be happy. It doesn't matter where you go, they're gonna be happy with whatever you do for them. So we need to just work the best that we can for everyone. All right, we ready to roll?
Okay, roll.
Old business, number 1, approved minutes for regular meeting March 21st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Dewey, a second by Michael. Any further discussion? That said, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 2, approved minutes of special meeting March 28th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dewey, a second by Chris. Any further discussion? That said, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. New business, approve the county road aid agreement and resolution. If you want to elaborate on that, Ms. Cheyenne, the floor is yours.
That's just our county road aid, right?
Yeah, we're gonna receive $883,975. The initial payment is $514,473. We usually get that around August, September.
They split the other payments up
Yes.
make 3 more payments is what it is.
Yeah,
We get
less,
1 big one and 3 small ones.
less 3% of the total amount goes into an emergency fund, and that's what we use for emergency and I think even bridge money comes out of that.
Which has
All
been,
that- All that money we get from the state, like when we do projects, that's,
which has been very good to us on the emergency fund side. Ison Creek, all that work on Ison Creek with emergency fund.
I'll make a motion we approve the county aid.
I'll second.
Motion by Charles, a second by Emily. Any discussion? That said, all in favor say aye, please. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 2, approve Judge Lewis to sign the Fair Housing Proclamation. I can read this out. Whereas the Fair Housing Act enacted on April 11th of 1968 enshrined into federal law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, national origin, or disability, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. And whereas Elliott County Fiscal Court is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all. And whereas our social fabric, the economy, health, and environmental are strengthened in diverse, inclusive communities. And whereas more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, discrimination persists and many communities regain segregated. And whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness. Now therefore be it resolved that the Elliott County Fiscal Court does hereby declare the month of April 2023 Fair Housing Month.
Make a motion.
Motion by Dewey, the second by Michael. Any further discussion? That said, all in favor signify by saying aye, please. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 3, approve Judge Lewis to sign the Building Safety Month proclamation. I'll read that. Whereas Elliott County is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential roles of our homes, businesses, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disaster strikes. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials, who assure us safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas it starts with you, the theme for Building Safety Month 2023 encourages us all to raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. And whereas each year in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now therefore, I, Myron S. Lewis of Elliott County, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2023 as Building Safety Month. Accordingly, I encourage our citizens to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month activities.
Motion to approve Judge Lewis to sign the Building Safety Month proclamation.
Second.
Got a motion by Chris, a second by Charles. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Need a bottle of water after that. Thank you. Number 4, approve to take bids for yearly work and materials. It's that time of year again where we go to bids. We've got a laundry list of things we're going to ask for. And I'm just going to go down a few of them here: crushed stone, shop rock, fuel, asphalt tack, ditching by the foot, rail and cribbing, propane, HVAC, preventative maintenance. These are just a few. You'll see them roll in the paper. You'll probably see some new ones. What we're trying to do is a couple things: save the county money. If we can get it out there and we can get bids for the cheapest price for a quality contractor, it can save us money. Also, we want to make sure that our audits recognize that we went after whatever it was that they've come in before and seen work done and asked, did you go out and put that out for bid? Did you already have bids taken? And that's ultimately a question that gets asked every year in our audits. And we're always afraid that we didn't word it correctly in the newspaper, or we didn't word it correctly to you to approve. And auditors do look for that. That's one of those trigger points that they look for to make sure. So you're probably going to see some new things or worded a little different because we're going back and looking at the audits to try to make sure we do this properly.
Make a motion to take bids for yearly working materials.
Second.
A motion by Emily with a second by Charles. Is there any further discussion? With that said, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
All right. Let the record show that Chris Dickerson was absent from that vote.
Make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Motion
Second.
second by Dewey. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Recess.
Just had to run.
We will reconvene this meeting, call it back to order at 7:25. We took about 8 or 10 minutes, but that's okay. We'll go right back into it. Number 5, acknowledge the Sandy Hook Water District's audit. I have the audit here. Anyone is welcome to look at this. We'll have a copy of it at the county garage. There's also a copy of it at the Sandy Hook Water District. You are anytime, Monday through Friday, at the Water District or the county garage, you are welcome to come and view this audit of Sandy Hook Water.
Need a motion to acknowledge?
Go ahead.
Second.
A motion by Charles with a second by Michael. Is there any discussion? That said, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's have it. Number 6, acknowledge the Elliott County Fiscal Court's audit. The same here is our fiscal court audit for fiscal year ending June 30th of 2022. You can look at this anytime you want. You can either go on the state auditor's website, and you can find it by clicking windows that come to Elliott County. There you'll see the PVA, the sheriff, the clerk, and us. You'll be able to see all of our audits. You can look at them in detail. You can print them off from that website. You can come to the county garage. We will have this available for you to look at. I'll go ahead and tell you, this does not happen without extremely, extremely hard work from Cheyenne, Nancy, and Crystal kind of leading the charge. This audit is semi-perfect. It is almost absolutely perfect of an audit. Next year, the audit will be done, next fiscal year, the audit will be done by the state, where we are in good standing. Every 3 years or every 4th year, right, the state comes in and does an audit. By the state not coming in and doing an audit, it saves us tens of thousands of dollars because we pay a private firm to come in and do our audit just because we are staying in good audit standing. So when you want to know how your money's being spent and if it's being tracked and if it's being done properly in Elliott County, I beg you to take a look at this. You will love these girls. This is not me. These are the girls in our office that come in every day and bust their hind end. So I applaud their efforts. As a citizen of Elliott County, I know that the tax dollars are being spent properly, because if I was to walk in Crystal's office anytime, day or night, and say, I need a check, she's going to laugh in my face. She knows it's got to come through you first. She knows it has to be approved by you first. And there has to be 2 signatures on that check, which is hers and mine. So girls, thank you all.
Make a motion to accept the audit.
Motion by Dewey, second by Brian. Is there any discussion? That said, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Thank you all. Number 7, approve the Elliott County Fiscal Court's 3rd quarter report.
If you look there on the first couple of pages, it'll show our bank balances in each fund. And then the next 4 pages will be our receipts that we've received through March 31st. And then the next 7 pages will be our disbursements for all of our funds. And then the last, let's see, the third from the last page will be all of our debt as of March 31st. And the last page is the total debt numbers.
There's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Chris and second by Charles. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Number 8, approve to use Bluegrass Engineering for professional services on the Big Stone Water Project.
Make a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Dewey with a second by Michael. Any discussion?
Is this already been released out to bids?
This is professional services. It does not have to be released for bids. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Number 9, discuss the Addison Field restroom. This is something I asked the girls to throw in there. And this is for Channel 2. This is for you all to take home with you and understand where are we today. I got a call today from Geotech Services. They're going to start doing their drilling within the next week. Per my conversation with the engineer, this may be ready to put to bid by the end of May, and we could have this restroom constructed. If bidding goes well, septic goes well, we follow all the parameters. If we have good drilling, we could have this restroom built this summer. So obviously they're pushing me now to have it done by Labor Day so 4-H can enjoy it and people can go in there and use what restrooms are used for. But as in this, what you all saw was my response to the architect and saying I would like these other things added. If you look in this, in red was his responses back to me. And the only thing he kind of kicked on was I asked for a residential style stove and oven, which would be just what you have in your kitchen. What he's saying, because we're using this as a concession stand, it's possible we may have to put a hood system in it. Those are details we will work out later on down the road. And when I say later on down the road, probably by June 1, we'll probably have that hashed out as to whether or not we'll need it. My hope is Geotechnical Services, they do their drilling next week. That comes back positive. And then it goes back to the engineer. The engineer goes back to the architect. They get a design, more of a permanent design. And I think that picture is not here, but you all should have that. I sent it to you of what it looks like. If you need it, I can send it to you again. Basically, you're looking at the front, you're looking at a concession stand. Directly behind the wall of the concession stand is a boys' changing room, a girls' changing room. You then have a hallway down the middle with a boys' restroom, a girls' restroom. Then you have a garage on the end, which is just going to be a garage for lawnmowers, weed eaters, whatever is chosen to go there. And as I told the shooting sports, the 4-H, and the soil conservation, if you need something stored in there for the winter, we're more than willing to help you out. This will be constructed out of concrete as it was originally supposed to be, so it'll be a certified storm shelter. If there was to happen to be inclement weather that would be needed, if and when Northeast starts their daycare program, solid waste, county extension, anyone else up there, they could take refuge in this facility. It's being built strong, and that was what we went after the grant for back in 2000, 3 weeks before COVID shut down the world. We're just now picking this back up, and my dream is to get this thing done before cold weather hits in 2023 calendar year. So I wanted to have that discussion with you. I'll let you know this is now rolling full steam.
Sounds great.
You may want to check in, I know a lot of times with the, if it's going to require a hood system, then it'll probably have to have an ANSEL system as well. And that's pretty significant cost.
Yeah, it used to be 10,000, now it's probably
about 15 or 20, just depending on what you get.
back in a prior life they were. Yeah.
Back when we were slinging roast beef.
Okay, number 10, approved to use 80/20 bridge funds to widen Bowtie Road Bridge. Charles and Rodney and I met a landowner up at Bowtie Bridge on Wells Creek. He wanted to widen the bridge 3 feet. The bridge is less than 10 feet wide. He can't get his tractor across it without running up on the bridge curb on either side, which it makes you very nervous. And that wasn't a sentence the question I asked him, but it makes you, if you know the landowner up there, he'll flat tell you what he thinks any day of the week. But what we want to do is widen the bridge. I've gone back and forth. We've waited for, this started last fall, and this come from the state engineering. And then if you look, Brian Gillum, who is also an engineer for the state, he gave me his opinion on it. That's the very top paragraph you're going to read on page 1. This was his opinion today. And he thinks that what they have come up with here to add 3 feet is very possible. And he doesn't think that it's going to be a whole lot of headache. But I would like to ask Frankfurt if they will do this under 80/20 to save us money to get this done. Now, they can deny it because technically there's nothing wrong with that bridge. However, it's just not wide enough for anyone to get, it's less than 10 feet wide. And there are tractors out there. Our tractors, in some cases, are 11 feet wide. So it makes it pretty rough if you've got a wide body, or even if you have dually, you're not going to make it across without your inner wheels running up on the bridge. So.
That's pretty well what we discussed back then, everybody agreed with.
Yeah. So this is exactly, Charles. This is what we discussed that day at the bridge. Here's the diagram that comes from Clemensburg that they sent us. And this is what they're requesting us do. And then this was Brian Gillum, just me going after that next layer of support and Brian's response as to what he says. And we'll have to put that for bid. So in your approval to do this, I would also ask for you to approve for me to put it out for bid to do this per the specs laid out by Clemensburg.
So you need a motion to approve to use the 80/20 bridge funds?
And could that be rolled in one motion? That need to be a second motion.
Either one.
Okay, so 80/20 bridge funds and to put it out for bid today.
Yeah.
All right. That's your motion, Charles?
Motion.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Charles, a second by Brian. Is there any further discussion? That said, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Number 11, discuss Round County Detention Center price per day increases. I sent you all some information a while back, and you're not approving this. This is just a discussion. You will see a contract in May or June. Judge Clark and I have had multiple conversations about this. We've been to multiple meetings, and as you can see, it's costing right around $49 a day for Round County to house inmates down there in Moorhead. Our current charge is $35. Judge Clark has said that effective July 1, it will go to $42 per day per inmate. He's struggling to pay his bills down there in that jail, and Judge Clark has said in his meetings that 1/3 of all county obligations go to that jail. And when we speak to other judges in other counties, they're struggling the exact same way. Now, the legislature is being sued right now. The lawsuit was, I think, Perry County Judge or Perry County Fiscal Court is suing the legislature to hopefully gain some relief here, because no one goes to jail on a county charge. No one is tried in court from jail on a county charge. It is a state charge, and it is a state mandate. It is a KRS that you violated, and that is the premise, more or less, as to why some of these counties with jails are taking the legislature to court. And the legislature has said they will take this up, they will review it, they will come to the table and meet with the judges that have jails, not us, obviously. But this directly impacts us as a county who has a burden of taking folks to jail. And we pay the jailers gas, and we pay the upkeep on vehicles, and we have all that court running back and forth. So we'll see where that shakes out. I'm glad that the legislature immediately took it serious and said, we will come to the table with you and we will have this discussion. But neither here nor there, today, it's costing Round County around $49 a day to house an inmate. And he's letting us know, he's putting us on notice that effective July 1st, he's going to $42. This is an unofficial document. The official document will come either in May or June for you all to approve or not. We'll tell you this, from what I've been told, all jails are raising their prices, some exponentially, some not. But Round County provides some free services in their jail that other jails will not provide to Elliott County. They have enough staff down there that can help us without charging us in certain other ways. So, with that said, the jailer, Dustin Kelly, has asked that we stay with Round County. I just want to throw that out there. Again, this is unofficial, but I don't want this to be a surprise and me just drop it on you in a month or two whenever we get the official document.
What are the services they offer vendors?
Someone goes to the hospital and they're in jail, or they bring them to jail to the Sally Port. Round County is hesitant to make the jailer go sit in the hospital with them. They sometimes will take one of their own jailers and go to the hospital and sit with the person that was arrested. Other jails will say, jailer, you're on your own. So instead of being able to come back and get another arrested individual that may be sitting right here downstairs waiting, he would have to go sit in jail. And I can remember the prior jailer saying he's sitting in the hospital all night long waiting on blood test or waiting on a procedure. Say there was a car wreck, suspected DUI with a suspected broken arm. They'd sit there and wait on x-rays. They'd wait to be seen because the jail wouldn't do it. And in this case, Round County has been more than hospitable to assist Elliott County and Morgan in certain ways. Now, they're not obligated to do that, but if they have the staff available, they have offered to do that before. Now, we're still on the hook for the insurance if insurance doesn't cover it, but Round County has done that for us. So, Round County's been very good to us. Number 12, approved to pay PAX Incorporated to complete the insurance work at the library. This is to replace the damaged vinyl bases. This is to replace the damaged wood base. This is to repair and replace drywall, paint, insulation, the electric, fan, etc., in the restrooms that were affected by Christmas night's flood. And I don't know what you all were doing on the 26th day of December. I was in the library all day long because about 14 hours we saw on security camera, it was spraying hot water out of the inner restroom that on an outer wall. And so I'll be coming back with you all with carpet and flooring approval soon. But this is PAX, and the insurance company doesn't need multiple bids. They need a quote, and they will run with this.
Okay.
Second.
The motion by Brian with a second by Dewey. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, please. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Consideration of bills and transfers. Approved paid and unpaid bills.
Motion approved.
Motion by Chris, with a second by Emily. Discussion? All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 2, approve the interfund budget transfers.
Motion.
Motion by Dewey with a second by Chris. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 3, do we just want to skip number 3?
No.
Number 3, approve to pay the treasurer her training incentive.
Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dewey with a second by,
I'll say.
all right, Charles. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Crystal, you got by this time.
Thank you.
Number 4, approve to pay the training expense and membership fees for the Kentucky Occupational License Association.
Me and Nancy are going to a training, and so it's the cost of that, and then $160 for the membership fees.
Second.
Motion by Emily, was second by, was that you, Michael?
Yeah.
Second by Michael. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Have it. Communications from other county offices. Acknowledge monthly reports.
Motion to acknowledge.
Second.
Motion by Chris with a second by Charles. Any further discussion? That said, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything further to be brought before this court before I ask for motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a question. On one of our previous conversations, you got Tracy Joe about the fire hydrant?
We've not discussed it, but we will. He's very open to have that conversation. Anything else? I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Dewey. Second by Emily. Thank you all. Good night.